So here I am. I just arrived in Madrid, and I don't think it's really sinking in that I have completely changed my life. New country, new language in a way. And I remember when I got to my apartment that night, I was exhausted. And so I didn't really think much. And then, I fell asleep. I woke up the next day. I went outside to start exploring. And then it just hits me. I'm in Madrid. I'm in Madrid, Spain. Like, I studied this place. But more specifically, it's like, I just found out, like, through some simple research, I'm like, I am in one of the gay capitals of the world. Hi, I'm Danilo Martínez. I am living in Madrid, Spain, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story on how I got here. So here I am. I just arrived in Madrid, and I don't think it's really sinking in that I have completely changed my life. New country, new language in a way. And I remember when I got to my apartment that night, I was exhausted. And so I didn't really think much. And then, I fell asleep. I woke up the next day. I went outside to start exploring. And then it just hits me. I'm in Madrid. I'm in Madrid, Spain. Like, I studied this place. But more specifically, it's like, I just found out, like, through some simple research, I'm like, I am in one of the gay capitals of the world. And I'm walking down the street and I'm starting to see, just couples, like gay couples. And it's normal, it's fine. And I'm meeting friends and, I'm telling them who I am and they're like, and this was my new life, I thought that moving to DC and, coming out there and knowing that DC had a gay neighborhood and experiencing that life, I thought, wow, this is something. If you've never stepped a foot inside Chueca, I was like, that's not just a barrio, that is a whole other world. And it's in your face, it's colorful, it's vibrant, and it's not something that was, only for select people or select groups. It was for everyone. I would look at the terrazas and it's just, it's filled with, men, women, gay, straight, lesbian, whatever, all of them just together having a totally normal life. And, I think I've said the word home, quite a bit in this project, but it's really important to me. And it's these little moments that I realized Madrid is home. I mean, I hadn't even been here a week and already I could feel that it was something special. Honestly, it felt like a dream. And to this day, it still kind of is a dream. Here I am, and I made a promise to myself, honestly. It's like, I'm gonna have fun, but this is actually the moment to also not be afraid to fall in love, because love meant relationship. It meant, telling people, everything about me, showing them, this whole new life that I had started to show, but not entirely. Actually, I was gay to my friends, and I was gay at work, but I still wasn't gay to my family. So it was through living here, feeling entirely safe, and not just safe, but excited, that I decided, it's time. I have to tell my parents, I have to tell my siblings, and that's how it all happened. It was, my mom called me, and she's like, hey, what are you doing? I was like, I'm out with a friend. And he goes, you keep mentioning these friends a lot. I was like, yeah, these are my friends. These are my gay friends. I'm gay. And that was that. So like, I'm a kind of a bold person. So there it was, once I finally have the courage and, make the decision to go, it's done. So, that was really the moment, where I think things started to just move forward at an even faster pace, because now my family knows, my friends know, work knows, I'm in a gay capital. I live 3 stops, down on the Green Line to get me to Chueca if I ever wanted to go out for a night, or go for a date, whatever that may be. So, it became everything that I'd hoped it'd be, and it is a huge, reason as to why I am all of this today. And of course, I mentioned that this was all supposed to be temporary. Temporary has a way of kind of stretching out when you're having a lot of fun. And of course that fun took me to, going on a couple of dates on Tinder, modern dating. And that is how I now met the person that really changed, my life entirely. And this is the person that made this no longer a temporary journey, but a permanent one. So as I mentioned, right, I'm on Tinder and I'm trying to set up dates because I'm serious, right? I'm serious about this. It's time to find love and create something stable. So unlike most people, right, you're sitting there and you're, scrolling and looking through pictures. I'm sitting here like zooming in, reading the bio, thinking like, okay, I need someone that's going to be from Madrid, or at least living in Madrid, because I'm going through all of this during New Year's Eve, all right? Madrid is filled with people, and I was like, no, I'm not just gonna go on a date with someone that's gonna leave in 3 days. So I'm on Tinder, I'm scrolling through, and Nestor pops up. And I'm looking through the photos, and I'm like, he's cute. I was like, he travels. And then I see a GIF where he's doing this silly dance, and that goofiness just completely overwhelmed everything. And before I even zoomed in to read this bio that would have told me that he's from Valencia, I swiped right, and boom, it's a match. I'm ecstatic. This is great. I was like, here is this person who in my mind I'm already having some sort of emotional connection to from a silly GIF. And I message him, and we start talking, and 2 days later we go on a date. Now, this date was with 2 of his friends, but that's okay. And we're sitting there and I'm asking them, hey, when do you guys return to Valencia? And Nestor stops me and he says, no. He goes, me and my friend are going back to Valencia. And I'm just sitting there thinking like, oh God, this is a total fail. But at least I'll have a good lunch. And it was a great lunch. It was about a 12 to 15 hour lunch. Obviously at this point it's not just lunch, it's drinks, it's conversation, it's dancing. And I just never would have thought that in that moment, this, half a day date was going to then turn into a long distance relationship where we saw each other 3 times before the pandemic hit. And then it turned into not just a long distance relationship, but one that you are not able to really see or be with this other person for, 3.5 months. But the nice part about that was that, when you have nothing else to do in your life besides just talk to someone, it was a great way for us to really know, find out who we are, that this was something that we really wanted to explore. So, we saw each other 4 times before, just kind of in passing until the 5th, in which case we decided, we really want this thing to be something else. And we were already dating, right, you could say, but at this point we decided we were gonna live together, moving pretty fast. Nestor moved to Madrid from Valencia. he had never lived anywhere else. And so I am just even more captivated by, the gestures that this man is making for our relationship, for me. And everything was going super well. And I'm sitting here, living in Spain with my boyfriend. Shocker. All the while still dealing with Spanish immigration bureaucracy. Absolute worst. And, it was going through all of these procedures, all of, these moments, right, of stress that Nestor just kind of looks at me and he goes, why do you have to do this all the time? I'm like, I'm an immigrant, this is what we do. This is what expats do. We file paperwork. And he's like, well, how do you stop doing that? I'm like, I become a resident. And it's like, well, how do you do that? I'm like, you get married. And we're just kind of looking at each other like, are we there yet? So, here we are, 2 years into our relationship, and we decided this has been great. Let's just take it to the next step. So we did what's called pareja de hecho here. In the United States, I guess you would kind of say it would be like a civil union, but even simpler, the way that some of these things really should be. So this was back in 2020, whenever that happened. And now it's been 4 years later, and I am, as I like to say, half married, because we haven't thrown a party yet. I mean, this is, riding the coattails of the pandemic, and, then life changes, it goes on. So once I throw that wedding, then we'll be fully married. But it's been 4 years, and it has completely changed everything. Like, Spain is not something that I studied in school anymore. It's not something that I kind of ran to because I was afraid of DC turning into Gilead. It became, my new home, my, new family. And, it's just been just really great, all the while in the safety of gay Madrid. So this is Nestor. This is the man that stole my heart and kept me in Spain for these past 4 years. And pretty much this is what we do. We love wine. This is a wine from Ailes, from kind of the northern Spain region. Nice little blend that we have here. I think it has a lot to do with kind of like how our relationship works, a blend of different things. US Latino, Valencian Spain. But yeah, this is kind of our regular life. Nestor works from home. He works for a Valencian company that does transportation logistics. So anywhere from food, products, whatever that may be. I don't get to work from home. I work in an office in Chamartín, in the northern part of Madrid. I am a manager for online trainers, English trainers, and French and Italian, and a couple others, and they're just throughout different parts of the world. So I manage KPIs, and he tracks different currencies on transportation logistics. We are located in the center of Madrid. Our actual neighborhood is El Rastro, which is the huge kind of street market that happens here in Madrid every Sunday. So we always know what time of day it is because you can start hearing them set up kind of along the street here and there around 5-6 a.m. So that's your first kind of wake-up call, and then you hear the crowds coming out around 10. Then you hear this group of drummers that come from Lavapiés, literally right down our street around 1 p.m., hearing the drums all the time. And yeah, this is our little neighborhood, this is our little world. And we're really happy here. We also do spend some time in Valencia, so we go back and forth. We were actually there twice this month, We were there for Fallas and for, it's called the Festival Magdalena, which is really the festival that's part of the region where Nestor's actually from. And yeah, I mean, regular days, we like to go out. We've definitely, take advantage of the Spanish culture of finish your workday, meet up with some friends, have some good wine or a beer, a little dinner, and then you're back to repeat for the next day. We actually travel quite a bit, so we have been to Malaga a couple times. We've been up to Cantabria, Navarra, Catalonia, obviously Valencia. We spent some crazy times in Sitges, in Torremolinos. That was a completely different, experience. Than that was extremely wonderful. And then we also do a lot of these little weekend trips internationally, where we went to Rome, London, Prague. Right now, I'm just trying to figure out where's the next place that we're gonna go. We're thinking maybe a cruise. So, this is our life, and I think, one of the things that I'm happiest about is just the level of safety that I feel. I think also that Nestor feels, considering the fact that this is his second home as opposed to what he grew up. As I mentioned, Madrid is just this gay capital, and so here, us walking down the street together, holding hands, being cute is not threatening to anyone. I have no problems expressing myself, dressing up in something that can be even more, elaborate, going down the streets, and I'll get looks, but I think it's because they think I'm looking good. But it's never, I don't get these looks that I kind of used to feel in the United States, where it was something's different, like as if I was a threat to something. And here we just blend in, I think that is truly one of the best safe feelings, that it's just easy and there's simple flow. And I feel it. I know Nestor feels it as well. Valencia is also really safe, but it's no Madrid as it is for our community. And we're both really happy here in regards to that. It's also, I think, one of the biggest reasons why there's no plan for us to move to the United States. The cost of living that we experience here is way better. A euro really stretches out a lot farther than a dollar would in the United States. And Nestor was there for the first time last year, and so he was, seeing firsthand how expensive, milk can be, how one apple can cost $2, and you're still, spending $200 on food that, is maybe not exactly what you wanted. It's just what was available. I know between, it's a lot easier having a dual income household here in Spain. We're hoping that, one day we'll be able to buy something ourselves. Right now we are renting, but at least, even though we are renting an apartment here, like it's definitely a lot better, and we still have a lot more income to travel, to have, wine with friends, and to go out. In the United States, just from being there for 2 weeks, we knew that was not going to be the case. So here, where we're living, we have a 1-bedroom apartment. It has a little extra space, kind of like for a little alcove for a little office where Nestor works. It's 70 square meters, I believe. Obviously, there's a fabulous little terraza that we can enjoy when we want to get out of our own apartment. It's about 1,200 euros every month. It's pretty much, it's 3 times what we would be paying for his apartment in Valencia, but hey, that's the cost of Madrid. One of the questions that I get asked all the time is, what is different for you? What's one of the the big things that separates us from experience in the United States? And obviously, first thought, healthcare. I don't have to worry about being sick. I don't have to worry about, if I am walking down the street and I break a leg, if it's going to cost me, my next 3 vacations, a kidney, whatever that may be. It's really, really great just being in a country that understands that being healthy is, it should be a given, not a privilege. And, I think for me, one of the weirdest things is still kind of putting it into practice. Actually 2 weeks ago, I was not feeling very well. And I messaged my boss. I was like, hey, I'm catching a cold. Can I work from home? And she says, are you crazy? Just rest. And I was like, are you sure? I was like, I can work, And, everyone's looking at me like, why would you even say that? It's like, if you're sick, you're sick. It's okay. It's normal, And there's still that feeling from the United States of, but I only have 7 sick days. I have to save them for something good. And so that part's been just, I think, easy here, right? You're not stressed out about what could come down the line, which all together just creates a healthier lifestyle in general. We're walking a lot as well. Madrid is a very walkable city, so that part's been really great. And when we're not walking, we're on public transportation, which I love. I grew up in Louisiana, so it's below sea level, so everything's a car. You cannot put a train, below the ground, if not it floods, and there's too many wetlands to really create any type of functioning systems. DC had a small metro, that was nice, but arriving in Madrid and just seeing the grid and knowing that I can pretty much get to any part of the city or even other cities via train, cheap ticket. We were in Valencia and it was 20 euros there and back. It's like 20 euros wouldn't even buy me, 2 glasses of wine in the United States, much less a trip. So I absolutely love it. And I have my little abono. I lose it all the time, but it takes us from point A to B to C. Nestor still isn't getting one because he works from home, but we still make do. So in regards to the challenges that I experienced when I arrived, people actually kind of find this surprising because they're like, oh, well, you already spoke Spanish, so that really wasn't a challenge for you. And I was like, before I moved here, I was like, I probably hadn't really spoken any Spanish for about 5 years because I was not with my family. I was with my friends, and my friends didn't speak Spanish. And even though I was supposed to be in this bilingual job in DC, it ended up not being the case. And so actually one of the contributing factors as to why I wanted to also come to Spain, be abroad, is to finally live, in a second language. I think my Spanish is a lot better. I'm still horrible with the vosotros form, and I will get the wrong gender on certain words, but all in all, it's going pretty well. So, but the challenge with the language I found here was it's the accents. So many different accents that I've never, heard or experienced except for in a movie or a TV show. And I remember just being in panic anytime I had to ask for a coffee or a wine in, these traditional Spanish bars where people are yelling and it's packed and they look at you and they're just like, what do you want? And I'm trying to figure out, can I have a menu? I don't know what I want. And they just look at you like, no. But I think beyond that, challenges for me, food. Food was one. I'm from the United States. I'm from Louisiana. We have excellent food. But it's not just about having excellent food, it's that you have, great Italian food. You have great, we have, Mexican, the border is right there. We have just all of this international cuisine. And then of course, when I moved to DC, it's an even more international environment. And not to say that Madrid is not those same things, but it's also not as simple when you want to go somewhere with someone who is just trying all of this new cuisine for the first time. So that's really been more of kind of like a challenge, but a blessing at the same time. We go out with a lot of people and we're eating the croquetas and the tortilla, and my palate just gets bored after a while. It's like, all right, Nestor, we gotta go get some Indian. I need something spicy. I need something that is going to make me be like, oh, that's a new flavor. I think you're handling it pretty well. Yeah. So I think what it comes down to is just that if you're a gay man or gay woman, whatever, and you're going to move somewhere else, it's really to understand, well, how is that interaction going to be? What's the concept of love in that culture? In the United States, it's very bold, very quick, but it can also be really confusing. And my experience here has been, is more flow, more easygoing. It's not so much of a race. I don't have to find out everything on that first date to determine whether if this is going to work 10 years later. I still tried. I still did it. Fortunately, he was not scared by that, so it worked out. But I think it's just that it's like you really have to make that decision and know that is what you want to do, because everything is going to be new, and so it's really easy for that particular thing that you're looking for to just get lost in all of these experiences. It took me a year to remember that when I moved here, that was one of the things that I really wanted, was to open up to someone else, share my life with someone. And then eventually when I did it, as you know now, it's paid off pretty well. And so I think that, you have to really honor the intention of why you're moving.